And again, those are cheap ways to dress up a very simple bubble. You know, our biggest seller is a little bubble called Simone. It is a champagne style.
Let's see.
We're sold out.
You're sold out? Okay. Hey guys, thanks for watching Weddings by Cled and welcome back to Meeting the Dream Team. That is one of my favorite segments because it celebrates the people that make weddings and events happen. I am in one of my favorite shops today. I might just like wine a little bit, and I'm in the Wine Gourmet with Brian Powell, who is the owner of the Wine Gourmet and one of my good friends, and someone who I turn to a lot when it comes to putting together the wine and the beer and the bar and all things bar when it comes to wedding receptions and events. So today we're going to talk a little bit about all of the things brides and people that are doing events want to know about this component, which is a pretty important component when it comes to a celebration, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, and we've been working together for a long time.
Yeah, almost a decade now. So
yeah, and
crazy.
I've been shopping here.
Right.
Probably before we started doing events together.
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with your inventory.
Right, and it's always changing, and weddings, as you know very well, are just as unique as every couple. So, and we try to cater to that. We really don't want to say this is your standard wedding set and this is what we go off of. While we do have standard recommendations, we are going to cater to every single wedding, event, color scheme, budget, you name it.
And what I love about your service is that it's so hands-on. I love the way that you step out and do tastings.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a tasting?
Well, right.
And I always say, like, the whole wedding planning process should be fun. It should be a celebration.
Exactly.
We pop open a bottle of bubbles sometimes just when we sit down to pick linens,
Right.
And so the fact that you sometimes come to the site or have couples come in here and do a tasting, it allows you to get to know them and get to know the culture of their event and helps you to better serve them as far as like budget and styles.
Well, exactly. And we don't want to sell you something that you're not ecstatic about. While everyone's budget does differ, there's always going to be something that we can find in that price range that's really going to make your day extra special.
And when we're talking about budget, sometimes people just don't know. They don't know what it all costs. So is there like an average gauge that people should be looking at spending on their wines and their beers and their bars?
Yeah, of course. And 2020 aside, there are a lot of questions that we love to work through with the couple and their parents if necessary to help determine that budget. We got to look at things like how long is your reception? How many people are you going to have? Is it going to be, open bar, which is what I always recommend, but then also are you going to include liquor? Are we just sticking to wine and beer? And are we looking at kegs, which are usually a little bit better bang for your buck on the beer side than standard bottles, but bottles typically present a little bit better.
Okay, wait a minute. Kegs at a wedding? So are you talking about tapping a keg at a wedding? That's so frat party.
Yes, we can certainly tap a keg at a wedding. Or there's ways to get a kegerator where it does look more like a bar service.
And what's a kegerator?
So, those little fridges that you had in college?
Yeah.
It's essentially one of those just with the tap on top, but it's run through a CO2 line, so you're not standing there pumping.
Okay, so we're not like pumping a keg at a wedding.
And
okay.
We can certainly pump a keg at a wedding, especially if it's hidden behind a bar. Your guests aren't going to know the difference, and it still presents just fine, and the beer is still extremely fresh. Mm-hmm. But of course, we have ways to hook up a CO2 line to it with other party taps and make it look a little bit nicer, but also help your bar staff out in the meantime.
Sure, because it's all about efficiency, right? We want to get those guests served in and efficiently.
Exactly.
And we don't want to have lines at bars.
Right.
And and that's one of my pet peeves is to see lines at bars. So how many bartenders do you recommend at an event?
Yeah, I always recommend that you start off heavy on the bartenders. Even if you need, depending on the guest list, if you need 4 up front and then 2 for the rest of the event. Usually your cocktail hour and the first hour of the main reception are going to be your busiest parts at the bars.
Yep.
Then everyone's going to trickle up as they finish their drinks or lose them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where if you do start heavy with the bartenders, I usually recommend that, but you don't need to keep a heavy bartender staff the entire night.
So one bartender per 25, per 50?
It would really depend on the efficiency of the bartender and how long they've been, in the industry, because of course everyone can be a bartender. Your uncle could be a bartender.
Yeah, we don't want to see that.
No, we don't. So, getting a professional bartending staff, which you and I both know some of them, or hiring your favorite local bartender and some of their friends, as long as they're also professional bartenders, just for the night. But yeah, usually I'd recommend 1 per 50 up front, and then you can probably, cut it back to 1 per 75 or 1 per 100, also depending on how much people drink.
And just talking about how much people drink, I get this question a lot. How much do I need?
Yeah.
Is there a formula for that?
We have a formula that we use roughly. Of course, like the average per se is roughly 2 drinks per person per hour. But I like to factor in, is there transportation at the end of the night? Is everyone staying at the place
good
where
yeah.
The wedding is? Because if they're going out, say towards Smith Mountain Lake and they all have to drive their personal cars in and out, we know they're not going to drink as much the last 2 hours, or there might be 1 designated driver per, say, every 5 people. But these are all things to consider when you're talking to the bride and the groom, which is why I love to sit down with you and, whoever else is involved in that equation to figure out how much homework can we do to figure out the best amount of alcohol to send them out of here with. And that does include wine and beer, which they get from us, but also how much liquor they'd roughly need, because you don't want to be left out, with 20 extra handles.
No, but it doesn't go bad.
It doesn't go bad.
You don't want to run short either at a wedding.
Never want to run
event.
short.
Yeah.
But I try to shoot for getting the couple within a case on the wine and the beer, so that they still have something to remember the big day with for the next couple weeks when they get back after their honeymoon. But by the same token, you don't want to leave them with 40 cases of extra wine where they're still living in a 2-bedroom condo.
Right, right. Good idea. What are you seeing? I'm hearing a lot about craft beers and different types of wines. What trends are you seeing lately with weddings and events?
Weddings and events still tend to be, serve the masses, obviously. We have seen a big push, again, pre-2020, to couples having special things for immediate family, head table, their bridal party, but then just nice everyday wines for the rest of their guests, because everyone's got different palates, but you can't cater to every individual palate. So you have to find stuff that suits the masses for everybody else. On the beer side, especially with kegs or bottles, we do see a push for craft beer, especially local craft, because Roanoke has definitely put itself on the beer scene lately. We see a push for things that are local for at least the first hour or two, but then definitely switching to domestic, which is a better bang for your buck for the rest of the event.
When they don't know what they're drinking anymore.
Exactly. There is such a thing as palate blindness, where after a couple drinks, your palate will go numb to the nuances of good wine or beer.
Oh, yes.
So why spend the money on the, more expensive stuff when they're not tasting it really anymore?
And wine, what trends are you seeing in wine?
A lot of people are going towards the lighter stuff lately. More Pinot Noir, more Grenache. They go down a little bit easier. You can even put a slight chill on some of them.
Okay.
Which for the summers that we have here, and summer weddings and spring weddings, there's great venues here that don't have air conditioning all the time, but you still want a red to go with the steaks or the barbecue or whatever the menu may be. So looking at red wines in particular that you can put a slight chill on that are still refreshing.
Okay.
So that people aren't, drying their mouth out while they're already thirsty. So white wines, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio tend to be the biggest sellers during spring and summer weddings. We do move more towards Chardonnay during winter weddings just because it sits a little bit heavier, and typically you're definitely indoors by that point.
So what about bubbles? I feel like I'm seeing more bubbles at weddings.
Yeah, and I love that bubbles are coming back in a big way. Of course, we're a little picked through after the last couple weeks with Turkey Day. But things like this little guy right here, Le Cardinal. We also have other brands, Pierre Larousse, Simonet.
And
of course we could do Dom, but
for the bride and groom.
Right, but I would never recommend blending Dom Perignon. But yes, for the head table.
So pretty.
By all means. And I always recommend something like a Dom or Moet or Veuve Clicquot for the bridal party. Something that is consistent year after year after year for their head table. Don't go with something that is a grower champagne or a vintage champagne necessarily for your head table, because you will never get that same experience and that same taste flavor going forward. So even at my own wedding, with the pick of everything that I could have done, we still did Veuve for our toast, because no matter where we go, where we are, you know, we're going to be able to find Veuve Clicquot yellow label, and it tastes so similar time after time after time,
beautiful.
because they do such a great job with their blending and their dosage that you will always get that same flavor profile that'll bring you right back to your big day.
So now, could the wedding planner carry her Veuve in this?
Why not?
Will the bubbles stay bubbly and cold in here?
They will.
And it matches my outfit.
Yeah, and we'll just have to build that into every quote from here on out.
Okay,
That, you know,
yeah,
they
just-
need to include a bottle of Veuve for you.
I mean, I will be the happiest wedding planner on earth if I get to carry this around at every wedding. I love your accessories as well as your wine. I mean, you just have everything here.
And we try.
Yeah.
Like, we want to make
Yeah.
it a one-stop shop. We want to be able to branch out. So if you need special glassware, if you need stuff monogrammed, if you need stuff etched, we're working on all those different things. We can already do the monogramming, in standard vinyl to get your message across, or even if it's just bridal party gifts or bridal party invitations.
Yeah.
We want to be able to make it, like you
Will
said,
you
a
put
team that
together
you can work with pretty concisely.
Favors for me and
Oh, yeah.
beautiful, welcome bags.
Right.
Oh my gosh, remember that one welcome bag we did?
Oh, yeah.
What was
The
in
big-
that?
Everything.
That was everything, right?
Yeah, it was the white canvas bag with the cane handle.
Yeah,
There's like 100 of those.
Yeah, and you got like everything
Yeah.
that went in it.
Right.
The foods and the wine. We did a bottle of Virginia wine.
Yep.
Which is really cool to do. Especially if people are traveling in from elsewhere to do a local wine.
Yeah.
Or a cider.
Ciders are
sparkling cider or
great, and we had
something,
ciders in that bag too.
We
but,
did, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and Barbersville actually just put out a new cuvee. So Barbersville here in Virginia, one of our best Virginia wineries, now has a Prosecco, true Prosecco actually, from Italy. They're owned by the Zonin family from Italy, and they're producing stuff over there and sending it here, and it is delicious.
I bet.
Their Prosecco and then their cuvee, I believe it's 1884, are both spectacular and out of this world and at great price points.
Well, when
So,
it comes in, let's do a tasting.
Deal.
Okay. I could talk bubbles all day long. I want to ask you something, though.
Yeah.
Specialty drinks.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while now. And, what are your thoughts on specialty drinks?
So, first and foremost, like if we look at just the bare numbers, the budget, specialty drinks require that you have a bartender designated for making those drinks the rest of the night. Making sure that they stay full, making sure, and I always recommend if you're gonna do them, pre-mix them, just have them in some sort of dispenser so that you're not wasting bartender time and therefore dollars on bartenders.
Yeah.
My whole thing is do them for the cocktail hour. If you want to do them, you can have a his and a hers. I would not do specialty drinks the whole night. It just, again, they're usually liquor based, which gets a little dicey with your guests, having the availability of copious amounts of liquor all night.
Right,
and
right.
most people don't truly know their own
Oh, we
limits when
know.
it comes
Yeah,
to
we
hard
see
liquor.
it at weddings, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wine and beer is a more predictable drunk by the end of the night, and
A more predictable drunk.
right.
I love it.
You know where you're going with that one. And
Yeah.
when it's coming on, liquor hits you so much harder. And
It does, yeah.
It leads to more
And out of
blackouts.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I say no to specialty drinks.
Right.
I'm kind of like, I've seen them, I've watched them now for years. They're not trendy anymore. And sometimes, I'll see guests go, oh, is that all? Like, it's kind of like a teaser.
Right.
Like, okay, we do have liquor, but that's not exactly what they want.
Right.
So, I'd rather just choose one thing or another, either just a full open bar or just wine and beer. Or maybe a full open bar during cocktail hour.
Right.
As budget would allow, and then go to wine and beer for the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
And that way you have the best of both worlds.
and if you want that special bottle of bourbon or special bottle of vodka for the bridal party behind
the bar.
Yeah, behind the bar. Heck, we've even gone so
Yeah.
far with bridal parties as to print pictures of the faces of who they go to.
Oh my
and put them on the actual bottle. So, if father of the bride has a special bourbon and it is just for him and his best friend that night, we put their faces on the bottle, and that is the only two people that drink gets served to the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And it does help with budget, but it also helps with controlling your crowd too.
Okay, cash bars. Yes or no? No.
Just no.
Yeah, I vote no on that too.
If people want to tip the bar staff, that is
Yeah.
up to them.
Yeah.
But you have invited people to your wedding. There is a expectation that they have provided some sort of gift to you at that wedding. But don't ask them to pay for their drinks as well.
It's a downer,
Yeah.
I think. You know, I mean, if it's not in your budget, maybe have a brunch wedding or less people,
Right.
or just no alcohol at all, or maybe just a champagne toast.
Exactly.
But I think it's like, would you invite people to a dinner party at your house and ask them to pay for something? That's the way I look at it. And I just kind of say,
Yeah, just
to
don't
cash
do it,
bars.
especially these
Yeah.
days where, like, even our sales in store, we're looking at 90% or better
Mm-hmm.
is credit card. And these days, people with Apple Pay and everything else, there is no reason to even carry cash in most cases
Oh, I
these
know.
days.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So,
don't ask
yeah.
them to not only get
Yeah.
dressed up, but also show up with cash in their wallet.
Yeah.
So I
Not
just
cool.
wouldn't do it.
Okay. So talk to me about the process, like
Yeah.
details, you know, about how the process works, how once, you know, a bride and groom come in the first time, where do you start the process?
You know, it really starts with telling them kind of their homework, so to speak. You know, it's obviously little things like the venue, how long the reception is, transportation options. Those are all easy snippets for them to give me pretty dang quick.
Right.
But then it
Yeah.
starts with things like, what's your guest list look like?
Yeah.
You know, how many are drinkers? How many are heavy drinkers? How many are light drinkers? If they know their guests well enough, you know, assuming mother-in-law and mommy didn't add too many people that are just friends that they feel they need to invite. You know, are they beer drinkers? Are they wine drinkers? Are they red wine? Are they white wine?
And
We
what they're
tr-
eating.
What they're eating,
Yeah,
you know, definitely if it's a sit down, we try to pair more with the meal, but if it's more of just a buffet style or, you know, there's so many ways you can go with food at a wedding these
Right,
days.
right.
So we try to cater it to that if they want it to be catered to that, but you know, everyone's going to have their own ideas of what they want too. You know, if they
Yeah.
know these are their favorite wines and that's what they want to serve, or this was the wine from their first date, so therefore they want to serve that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We will do our best to kind of tick all those boxes for every single couple. And, you know, it really is just about developing that relationship, just like you would to plan their perfect day.
Sure.
We just
Yeah.
do it to, you know, kind of augment that day
And
too.
some people are wine savvy.
Right.
And they know probably exactly what they want.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And you can meet that. You can deliver.
typically, yeah, unless it's something obscure.
And for the people that are a little bit more budget focused,
Yeah.
what options do they have?
Yeah, so I mean, we can start anywhere around $6 a bottle up to
Wow.
several $100s a bottle, just depending on the budget and the palate and what they really want. And that's all those things that we try to get out on the table early on with the couple, and then we will turn it over to a tasting when we get a little bit closer to the big day, because some of these couples come to us a year, year and a half in advance, and prices, like with everything else, fluctuate. So we
Right.
want to make sure that we're doing our tasting as close to the actual date as possible when we also have better numbers. But one of our biggest things for weddings is actually our 6 for 60 program, which,
Oh, I know it.
oh yeah. I mean, these are great wines. These are
Yes, they
fan
are.
favorites. They're things
Yeah.
that we try to stock year round. Of course, you know, again, like anything else, wine is a farm product. So you can have them some days and not others. So
Sure.
again, that's why we try to wait till closer to do the actual tasting. But you know,
And so 6 for 60, so you're basically coming out to $10 a bottle.
$10 a bottle.
I mean, that's,
And they're normally, you know,
Yeah.
$12, $13 bottles.
oh yeah.
And it's just a great way to show some great value, you know, fan favorites, but also something that you can stock your house with for years to come, no matter the budget.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely. It's a great deal.
oh yeah. So,
Well, y'all, congratulations on your engagement. I actually picked this up because this is just one of the cool things, and thank you.
well, and also
Thank
from
you
a
for
local
watching.
artisan.
Yeah.
So Appalachia Press downtown.
Oh,
does
they
those.
do amazing work.
John does great stuff.
Gorgeous, gorgeous work.
Yeah, and we carry a lot of his cards here. And
Yeah, are these letterpress?
yeah, he
Oh
letterpressed
my
them.
gosh, they're stunning, and you know that's just an example of it's not just about wine here, but I saw some wedding things. Let's go check those out. Come on.
I think they're just up in the front window.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just your store looks great,
Thank you.
and so we have some cute bride squad glasses over here. Can you see that? And you know, and those are for when like. You know, everybody's getting ready and they're having their bubbles then. They're morning bubbles.
Exactly.
Right? Moving on to the afternoon and the evening bubbles. Miss to Mrs. Isn't that precious? So
Of course, she'll need some
cute.
coffee the morning of. So.
Yeah, we got to have some coffee. It's okay too.
So yeah, and again, you know, anything that people see online, you know, we're
Yeah.
getting to the point where we can do the vinyl monogramming or,
Yeah.
you know, messaging
That's awesome.
here in store too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you got to love customization. Yeah.
Right.
And candles.
Candles, yeah.
Wine candles. Do they smell like wine?
They smell like the flavor notes of the wine.
Okay.
I don't think
Love
you want them
it.
to actually smell like the wine itself, but you know, Pinot Grigio smells nice, bright, crisp, clean.
Love it.
Cab smells darker, more leathery, more chocolate notes to it. So
I love it here.
Well, we love having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And thanks for being on Weddings by Cled.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah,
So,
we'll be back.
Perfect.
We'll be back for sure. We'll be back to taste those bubbles.
yes.
Yeah.
Can never have enough bubbles.
No, never enough. Well, thanks guys for watching Weddings by Cled and another Meeting the Dream Team here at the Wine Gourmet with my friend Brian Powell. Remember guys, please subscribe. It's going to bring you fresh new content every single week and help me realize my dreams.